My wife lied about her college reunion. She told me I wasn't invited, but in reality, it was just a cover. To secretly meet up with her ex. Jasmine, my wife of 8 years, indicated 6 weeks ago that she was going to Colorado for her 11th college reunion. After explaining that it would be a laid-back weekend and that everyone would be bringing their partners, she asked if I would like to go. I thought it could be interesting to meet the people she had spent 4 years with, and as I had never been to Colorado, I agreed. Jasmine talked about restaurants we could try and hiking paths we should explore. She looked enthused about the trip. To make it a mini vacation, she even recommended adding a few more days to our stay. Together, we made travel arrangements, and I took a leave of absence. I purchased a Colorado-appropriate jacket and new hiking boots. Jasmine recommended friends I would meet while we spent evenings looking at pictures from her undergraduate years. Jasmine was introduced to her first job by Charlie, who had attended our wedding with his wife, Jennifer. Additionally, Carlos planned a yearly charity run in which Jasmine took part. She never brought up Bill, her college boyfriend, I observed. He had played a significant role in her college experience, as I had already discussed. Before splitting up in their final year, they had been together for almost 3 years. Jasmine informed me that the reunion organizers had changed their minds and were no longer permitting spouses because of venue capacity constraints approximately 10 days prior to the trip. She apologized for the adjustment and appeared disappointed. I assured her that everything would be all right and that I would utilize the weekend to finish off some household chores. Every time I pressed her for further information about the new arrangements, I saw that she immediately shifted the topic. Before bringing up a problem with her job assignment, she obliquely mentioned Charlie's wife and a few other spouses when I directly inquired which other spouses had not been invited. Jasmine packed the night before her travel, while I stayed in our bedroom and watched TV. She brought a few more dress alternatives than she usually would for a 4-day trip, suggesting that she seemed to take extra care with her selections. She brought along her finest gowns, one of which she had just bought but hadn't worn yet. She responded that she wanted to appear good in pictures because everyone would be comparing their changes since graduation when I made a joke about it. She also took more time to arrange her amenities and packed more cosmetics than normal. One of Jasmine's college friends, Charlie, whom I had met at our wedding, texted me the day after Jasmine went for the reunion. According to his message, he felt I should be aware that Jasmine had been hanging out with Bill, her college boyfriend, all the time. While everyone else was enjoying a group hike, Charlie added that he had saw them enter Bill's cabin together and remain there for more than an hour. Charlie claims that Jasmine had informed everyone that I couldn't go due to a crucial work project. Even a picture of the reunion schedule, which showed no limitations on inviting partners, was shared. I spent almost an hour looking at the message. There hadn't been any issues between Jasmine and me. Next year, we had been discussing starting a family. Our kitchen renovation was complete, and next month we intended to work on the bathrooms. We had even begun to consider larger homes in well-regarded school districts. It had never occurred to me that she was dishonest. That night, I gave her a call to see how she was doing. Jasmine told me that the reunion was fantastic and that there would be a hike and a barbecue. I inquired casually about the location and if the no spouses rule was worthwhile, and she promptly verified that it was because of the lodge's limited accommodation capacity. Trying to make it seem like an afterthought, I then inquired as to whether Bill was present. She said he couldn't make it and was now living in Europe after a notable break. I hung up and went online to look at our cell phone bill. In the weeks before the reunion, I received several calls from Jasmine and an unknown number. The calls had increased in frequency before the reunion. The last time she had called, as the reunion drew near, it had been 1 hour the day before she departed. I texted Charlie to ask if he knew whose number it was after copying the number. He acknowledged that it belonged to Bill, who had returned from London 6 months prior after getting divorced. After packing, I took a car to my sister's house. She practices family law. I explained the scenario after showing her the phone logs, the reunion schedule, and Charlie's text. My sister advised me to speak with Jasmine when she got back and advised me not to make snap judgments. The calls might be benign, she noted. My sister acknowledged my worry when I brought up the fact that Jasmine had misled everyone about Bill's absence and said I couldn't go due to work. But she also reminded me that 8 years of marriage was worth more than 3 days of uncertainty. Before taking harsh measures, she suggested waiting to see if there was a plausible explanation. For the following 4 nights, I slept on my sister's couch. After our talk, Jasmine didn't give me another call, which seemed odd for a 4-day trip. She didn't text anything personal, just a few generic updates and pictures of group events. She was never photographed alone or with particular individuals, but rather in large groups. I saw a number of reunion images shared by other guests on social media. I could make out Jasmine and Bill standing close to each other in the background of 3 of them. He placed his hand on her lower back in one. In another, they were engaged in a lengthy chat, while seated separate from the main group. I went back to our house to confront her when she was supposed to return. I took copies of the pictures I had seen online, printed out the phone logs, and made sure there were no spouse limits on the reunion schedule. I set them down on the kitchen table and bided my time. Jasmine's smile vanished as soon as she entered the room and saw me seated at the kitchen table with the papers strewn out. When she saw the paperwork, her face changed from one of amazement to one of concern. Jasmine acknowledged that Bill attended the reunion during our argument, but she maintained that nothing occurred and that they were now only friends. She admitted that the organizers hadn't really barred spouses when questioned about her lying. Since Bill would be present, she simply assumed it may be awkward. She stated that she was attempting to keep everyone from experiencing discomfort. She attempted to sidestep the situation by calling my review of the phone records intrusive when I showed her the phone logs of her 47-minute conversation with Bill the day before the trip. She said Bill had called about the reunion because he was anxious about seeing everyone after his divorce and wanted to know who was attending. I brought up the fact that this was not merely a one-time discussion regarding attendees, but rather the 15th call between them a month. I explained that I had already discussed divorce alternatives with my sister. Jasmine showed signs of distress. Nothing had happened with Bill, she insisted. She stated that she was merely supporting a friend who was going through a difficult period following his divorce. She claims that they merely went to his cabin to retrieve something from his car, and since Charlie had already departed for the trek, he was not present when they returned. She claimed that she was only supporting Bill throughout his divorce, and that, because he was in between jobs, she had even covered the majority of his meals. I showed her the pictures from social media, including the one where he was holding her back. I could clearly see space around them in the photograph, but she dismissed it as people being crammed together for a group photo. I informed her that I needed time to think. Therefore, I would be spending the night at my sister's. Jasmine's voice became more urgent as she followed me as I packed. She maintained that I was ready to end 8 years of marriage over innocuous texts and pictures, and that I was overreacting to nothing. She mentioned our intentions for the future, including the house we had been thinking about purchasing and having kids. She blocked the bedroom doorway as I was zipping up my luggage, begging me to remain and sort things out. I just waited for her to step aside before leaving without answering her charges. That night, Jasmine phoned 27 times. Each of the 14 voicemails she left was more poignant than the last. Most of them I didn't pay attention to. Over the course of the following several days, she contacted me nonstop, alternating between explanations, apologies, and charges that I was being irrational. My sister consented to put a stop to any legal action while I considered my options. These days, I simply don't know what to do. After 8 years of marriage, I didn't anticipate this. I'm trying to make sense of everything, and my head is spinning. My pals are divided. According to half of them, marriages have fared worse, so I should at least give her my full attention. The other half claims that her lying alone reveals her true nature. I am unable to eat. Has anyone else found out that their spouse was lying about something similar? I never imagined myself in this situation. To be honest, I can't even identify my life at the moment. Update 1. I appreciate all of the comments left on my initial post. Even though I was unable to reply to every comment, I still read them all. Throughout the darkest times of my life, this community's support has been tremendous. Since so many of you had gone through similar things, I felt less alone during this whole ordeal. For those who would like an update, I have been aware of Jasmine's lies for 2 weeks. I've made the decision to proceed with the divorce. After carefully weighing all the options and speaking with my sister, I came to the conclusion that I couldn't get over this betrayal of trust. I reached out to Charlie once more for further information. He consented to meet me close to his place of employment. Charlie pointed out that Jasmine and Bill sat together at every meal and event, and he showed me more pictures from the reunion. He showed me a group shot from the dinner on the first night, where the seats were ordered alphabetically. However, Jasmine had altered her name card so that she was sitting next to Bill, rather than in her designated seat. Charlie clarified that he hadn't intended to become involved, but it seemed awful when he witnessed them vanish while hiking. He was prompted to tell me by his wife, who had also noticed. He attested to the fact that Jasmine and Bill sat together at every meal, frequently apart from the main group, and shared private jokes for the majority of the reunion. They appeared to have picked off exactly where they left off in college, according to a comment made by another student. Charlie offered a chronology of the cabin incident that ran counter to Jasmine's account. The planned 90-minute trip would follow a track in a nearby national park. About 15 minutes into the hike, Jasmine and Bill vanished, saying they would catch up because they had forgotten something at the cabins. They failed to attend the post-hike lunch and were absent when the group got back. They returned almost half an hour after everyone had eaten. Thus, their absence was far longer than the few minutes Jasmine had reported. Given how conspicuous their absence had been, Bill's joke about getting lost on the route had caused discomfort for a number of individuals. I questioned Charlie about why he chose to inform me, and he told me that years prior, he and his wife had been the victims of adultery. They had overcome it, but only because the truth was revealed right away. He felt I should be aware of what was going on since he thought secrets ruined marriages more quickly than errors. I informed Jasmine of my choice when we met at a coffee shop. She had already placed my normal drink order when she came 20 minutes early. In an attempt to demonstrate that nothing improper had occurred, she brought a folder of reunion photos and pointed out group shots with Bill and other people. However, those pictures only captured the planned events. They did not capture their free time together, as Charlie claimed. No limitations on spouses were indicated in the logistics-related emails she had printed from the reunion organizer. Based on Charlie's remark, she asked why I would discard 8 years of marriage, asserting that he had always been envious of her friendships, even bringing up his actions before our wedding. I clarified that this went beyond Charlie's account. She said falsehoods to make sure I wouldn't be present while her ex was. A basic breach in trust was demonstrated by the fact that she had constructed a complex lie instead of being straightforward about the circumstances. Jasmine admitted that her handling of the problem was incorrect, but she insisted that nothing had happened with Bill. She recommended marriage counseling and even mentioned that she had made an initial appointment. When I turned down her request for counseling the next week, Jasmine became extremely irate and started looking through her folder of evidence that nothing improper had happened. She encouraged me to speak with other reunion attendees, recommending 2 strangers who might be able to provide an alternative account of what happened. I began looking for apartments the following day. I signed a 6-month lease after finding one close to my place of employment. Instead of using our joint account, I used my personal account to pay the security deposit and the first month's rent. Jasmine contacted her parents after I informed her that I was moving out. Her mother sobbed and begged us to try counseling before making final decisions, while her father emphasized that every marriage had difficult times. They came over that evening and attempted to help. Her father implied that the circumstances were similar by bringing up his own prior transgressions, which her mother had pardoned. The next weekend, I transferred the majority of my personal belongings into the little flat. While Jasmine was at her parents' house, 2 friends assisted me in moving my possessions. I wrote down which pieces of furniture I had taken and which I would return later. Jasmine started sharing her version of events with our friends, calling me irrational and Charlie a troublemaker. She said that without giving her an opportunity to clarify, I had overreacted and misunderstood innocent exchanges. Due to irreconcilable disagreements, my sister sought for divorce in the first place. Jasmine texted me to say she was still hoping I would reconsider before things got out of hand. She sent me an email with links to marriage counselors in our area after I failed to reply, claiming to have looked into their qualifications and discovered one who specialized in restoring trust. The links were not opened by me. Reddit. Does it ever get easier? Right now, I'm completely lost. Update 2. My last update was a month ago. The divorce is proceeding. At first, Jasmine disputed it, saying that irreconcilable differences wasn't a good enough excuse in the current situation. According to my sister, this was merely a delay tactic because no-fault divorce is accepted in our state regardless of objections. In a long response to the divorce petition, Jasmine stated that the marriage could still be saved and asked that marriage counseling be tried before moving forward. She has been switching back and forth between angry accusations and remorseful messages. On one occasion, she brought flowers to my flat, and on another occasion, she brought the divorce papers, which were adorned with handwritten Charlies challenging different terms. On the second visit, we had an awkward standoff in my building's hallway because she wouldn't go until I talked to her. After a while, my neighbor stepped in and let me return inside. Now, my building management has been told to stop allowing her entry. In an attempt to persuade my sister to cease representing me, Jasmine also got in touch with her directly. She accused me of acting erratically and not genuinely wanting the divorce in emails to my sister. Without comment, my sister sent me these messages. Jasmine then attempted to contact our mutual friends in an attempt to persuade me to change my mind. Having obviously only heard Jasmine's side of the story, 2 friends reached out to me to voice their concerns about how rapidly the marriage was dissolving. Christabel, a friend of Bill's who knew my wife, was someone I ran into last week. He recognized me at the grocery store, and we met at our wedding. I brought up the problem with Jasmine and Bill during the reunion during our talk. Bill told Christabel that Jasmine was all over him the entire weekend, but Christabel looked perplexed. According to Christabel, Bill stated that Jasmine had stated that our marriage was struggling and was most likely going to end in divorce nonetheless. Christabel then revealed that on the final night of the reunion, Bill acknowledged they had slept together. Christabel affirmed that Bill had stated explicitly that they had shared a bed when I pressed for more details. Although he felt I should know the truth, he apologized for telling me this. According to Christabel, Bill had expressed ambivalence about the matter because he knew me from the wedding, but Jasmine had persisted in telling him that our marriage was practically gone already. Christabel claimed that Bill had shown him graphic, amorous text messages that Jasmine had written him during the reunion. I gave Christabel my gratitude. I stopped buying for the information and the shock it caused. I went back to my car and contacted my sister to tell her what I had discovered. She suggested that I hold off on telling Jasmine this knowledge just yet, stating that it might come in handy throughout the divorce process. She suggested letting Jasmine handle that part and pointed out that since she was disputing the divorce, evidence of adultery could change our strategy. In order to make sure I didn't say anything that would make the situation more complicated, she also advised me to pass any texts or emails Jasmine sent to her before answering. After a neighbor granted Jasmine access to the building, she unexpectedly arrived at my flat that evening. She asked to speak and brought food from my favorite restaurant. She continued to explain for almost an hour that nothing had happened, that she was simply assisting a friend, and that Charlie had misinterpreted everything. She promised never to cheat on me since she loved me. She recommended couples counseling once more and talked about beginning therapy to figure out why she had handled things so badly. She mentioned our aspirations to have kids and reminded me that we had always discussed spending our latter years together. I didn't say a word during her diatribe, reflecting on Christabel's words earlier that day. Then, being the dumb fool that I am, I disregarded my sister's advice. I discussed my chat with Christabel and Bill's assertion that they had slept together during the reunion with Jasmine. She became clearly irate and stated that Bill would never say such a thing, and that Christabel was lying. According to her, Bill may have told Christabel to lie because he was angry that she had cut off communication with him soon after the reunion, after realizing their friendship wasn't worth jeopardizing her marriage. She accused me of seeking grounds to dissolve the marriage and asked why I would put my faith in a virtual stranger instead of her. She got indignant when I questioned whether she acknowledged that she had kept in touch with Bill after the reunion. She packed up her belongings and hurried out, slamming the door. She claimed to have gotten in touch with Bill, who denied ever telling Christabel they hooked up, in a lengthy email she wrote the following day. She said it was all miscommunication, or intentional sabotage. I got a call from Bill himself a week later. He clarified that Jasmine had been phoning him frequently, occasionally from various numbers. She started accusing him of circulating falsehoods when he blocked her. He claimed that all he wanted was for the drama to stop. Bill acknowledged exaggerating when I asked him directly if he had told Christabel that he and Jasmine slept together, saying that they had spent a lot of time together at the reunion, but had only shared a kiss and not a bed. He claimed that after they had both consumed alcohol at the goodbye supper on the last night, they shared a kiss. According to Bill, Jasmine informed him that our marriage was struggling, that we hadn't been communicating recently, and that she wasn't sure what she wanted. He claimed that Jasmine had struck up the majority of their conversations at the reunion by asking him out during events and recommending that they speak in private. Bill was shocked when I told him that we were not experiencing any issues and that we had been expecting to have a baby the following year. He expressed regret for his involvement and acknowledged that, given her marital status, he ought to have avoided her. I gave my sister Bill's contact details after that call. She once more counseled me to let the legal proceedings proceed without any more emotional altercations and to refrain from speaking with Jasmine directly about the inconsistencies. I didn't reply to Jasmine's self-defense email. She abruptly consented to the terms of my lawyer's proposed divorce, including the agreed-upon asset division 2 days later. After weeks of resistance, the quickness with which she was accepted made me wonder what had happened. According to my sister, Jasmine may have learned Bill had spoken to me and made the decision to end things rather than risk additional information coming to light during contentious processes. Update 3. I haven't provided an update in a month. Since the house went up for sale, we've already gotten 2 offers that are higher than the asking amount. After the mortgage is paid off, we have decided to divide the proceeds equally. Jasmine returned to the flat, this time accompanied by her mother. We agreed that she might take what she needed from the boxes they provided to gather some home stuff. While Jasmine was gathering her belongings, her mother kept trying to talk to me about marriage problems and second chances. She related how she and her husband almost divorced soon after Jasmine was born because of his lengthy work hours and her erroneous suspicions of an affair. She made a point of saying how happy she was that they had resolved their differences instead of splitting up. I assisted them in carrying boxes to their car, but I didn't say anything more than was courteous. Jasmine asked to talk to me alone as they were about to go, while her mother waited in the car. Her mother looked back multiple times as she made her way to the car, as if she didn't want to leave us. Jasmine's attitude altered when we were by ourselves. Compared to earlier encounters, she seemed more solemn. She acknowledged lying about why I couldn't attend the reunion and about how much time she spent with Bill while there, saying she needed to clear her conscience. She maintained, however, that they never slept together and that they only kissed once after the farewell meal, after they had both had alcohol. She said she instantly regretted the kiss and prevented it from continuing. Jasmine expressed her confusion over Bill's motivation for telling Christabel that they had hooked up, speculating that he might have thought a kiss was sufficient or that he was lying to protect his reputation. Prior to the reunion, she admitted to erasing texts between herself and Bill. She acknowledged that occasionally their conversations had veered into nostalgia for their previous relationship. which she knew would cause me pain if I saw them. They had gone to get something from his car, but they ended up talking about his recent divorce and feelings of failure for longer than planned, she said, claiming the cabin incident had been innocent. Jasmine told me that she wanted me to know the truth because the divorce was going to happen anyhow when I questioned why she was telling me all of this now. Although she insisted she hadn't been unfaithful to that degree, she admitted making a number of poor choices and stated she was prepared to deal with the fallout. In contrast to what Bill had told me, she denied ever questioning our marriage prior to the reunion. Jasmine suggested that he might have misinterpreted her statement that she was anxious about starting a family. After that, she gave me an envelope with tickets to a band we both liked. As a surprise for our impending anniversary, she claimed to have bought them prior to the reunion. She thought I might want them, even though she didn't think I would use them with her. I took the envelope without saying anything. I got a text from Bill after she left. He said he was asked to message me by Jasmine. He restated that they only shared a kiss during the reunion, not a bed. Though he insisted it was an exaggeration, he acknowledged telling Christabel something had happened while intoxicated. He promised not to get in touch with either of us again and expressed regret for his part in the incident. I paused for a moment when their stories now matched. But then I remembered all the lies before. Jasmine had made up a complex lie to spend time with an ex-boyfriend, even if they had only shared a kiss. When questioned, she continued to lie. The basic betrayal of trust was unaffected by whether they had sex or merely shared a kiss. I also questioned this most recent version because both of their stories had changed over time. The following day, Charlie texted me screenshots of a furious argument between him and Jasmine, in which Jasmine accused him of destroying her marriage. In her messages, she called him a backstabbing friend and accused him of misinterpreting innocent interactions. In his responses, Charlie stood by everything he had told me and added that several others at the reunion had noticed Jasmine and Bill's behavior but weren't comfortable getting involved. He mentioned specific instances I hadn't heard about before, including Jasmine and Bill disappearing from an evening bonfire for over an hour. In her messages to Charlie, Jasmine admitted that she and Bill had discussed their past relationship during the reunion and reminisced about old times. She accused Charlie of making assumptions about their cabin time, but notably didn't deny they had been alone together for longer than she had initially claimed. She shouldn't have been taken seriously by observers. For me, each new piece of information only confirmed my decision. Even this late admission about the kiss appeared to be a partial truth, designed to explain away Christabel's revelation while minimizing her actions. The pattern of deception, followed by minimal admissions only when confronted with evidence, had destroyed any foundation of trust. I focused on establishing my new life. I purchased furniture for my apartment instead of using the temporary pieces I'd brought from our house. My sister introduced me to her husband's friend, who needed help renovating his basement, which has given me a project to focus on during evenings and weekends. Jasmine has stopped reaching out as frequently. According to mutual friends, she's been telling people she made a mistake, but that my unwillingness to forgive is the real reason our marriage ended. Some believe her. Others don't. I've stopped trying to correct the record or defend my decision. Those who know me understand. Those that don't aren't crucial to my future. The divorce will be final in the following months, hopefully as soon as feasible. I shall update then. Final update. The divorce was finalized last week. I expected to receive the final papers without any drama, but that's not what happened. 2 days before our divorce was to become official, I received an email from Jasmine. The subject line read, "I admitted that I have been cheating on you." I almost erased it without reading, but curiosity got the better of me. In the email, Jasmine eventually revealed that she and Bill had really slept together at the reunion, not just once, but twice. She claimed she'd been fighting the divorce so hard at the start because she couldn't stomach accepting the full truth, even to herself. According to her email, Bill had reached out to her a month before the reunion, and they'd been communicating regularly. When she realized he was there, she purposely manufactured the narrative about couples not being welcome. She gave details I hadn't known before. She had previously indicated that their first night together had been a spontaneous decision driven by booze, but it had actually been arranged in preparation. After the welcome supper, she had made plans to meet him in his cabin, saying she had to make a work call. After the goodbye supper, when most guests were preoccupied with group activities, they met again. She apologized for everything, but particularly for trying to portray my desire for a divorce as irrational to our friends. When presented with evidence, she admitted to manipulating the issue by only acknowledging a portion of the truth. She concluded by stating that she only wanted to quit living with the lies and wasn't pleading for pardon. Without commenting, I sent the email to my sister. She gave me a call right away to see how I was doing. I verified that I was okay, as I had always suspected. I said the terms were reasonable as they were, and I simply wanted it over when she asked whether I wanted to utilize this admission in the divorce procedures. Although I kept the paperwork on file, I didn't see any use for it to further penalize Jasmine. Jasmine emailed me, but I didn't reply. Nothing else could be said. Jasmine's sister called me the day after the divorce was finalized. At family get-togethers, we had always been friendly. She wanted to apologize for the way her family had treated me during the process after learning about Jasmine's email confession. She clarified that their parents were ashamed of the way they had pushed me to make amends after Jasmine had finally told them everything. I reassured her that it wasn't their fault, and that, like any parent, they were only helping their kid. She underlined that her father felt particularly guilty about what he had said to me during his intervention attempt, and that they didn't hold me responsible for the outcome. 2 days later, Jasmine sent me another email asking for a final meeting so she could return some of my personal belongings that she had discovered during the house's packing and that we had agreed to sell as part of the divorce settlement. I consented to meet. When Jasmine finally showed up 10 minutes late, she gave me a little package with an old watch that had belonged to my grandfather and some old pictures of me that had been mixed in with hers. Months had passed since the watch vanished. Additionally, I had previously accused Jasmine of losing it while cleaning. She said that she had discovered the watch a long time ago, but had forgotten about it until packing after concealing it during a dispute. She thanked me for not using her email confession against her legally after we had an awkward quiet. I just said that neither of us would have gained from it. She looked different. She appeared slimmer than when I'd last seen her, and she had chopped off her hair. She said she was still going to therapy in an effort to comprehend what she was doing. Silently, we drained our coffee. She asked me if I would think about becoming friends with her and keeping in touch on occasion as we were ready to depart. I graciously rejected, stating that I believed it would be better for us both if we had a clean break. She gave a nod and stopped pushing. I appreciate Reddit's support over this whole process. About a year ago, when I first posted here, I had no idea what I was doing. Your counsel, encouragement, and anecdotes helped me get through the most difficult time in my life. Trust your gut if you've ever had a bad feeling, but don't act out of rage. Remain composed. Keep a record of what is important. Speak with a trusted person, such as a friend, therapist, or attorney. Healing comes from clarity, yet betrayal hurts. Tell your tale in the comments if you have experienced something similar, such as being wrongly blamed, deceived, or suspected. Someone else could feel less alone because of your experience. Being heard is the first step toward healing in the environment we're creating. If the person you cared about the most was leading a double life, how would you respond?